Welcome back. We're here today with Richard Pickering, who is the Deputy Director of Plimoth Plantation. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
How's it going today?
Good.
It's a beautiful day out there. And
it is gorgeous.
I see the kids walking around the plantation. And
at this time of year, about mid-November to the end of the month, we will see about 2,000 school children a day from across New England.
I understand you've been here quite a long time.
I started at Plimoth Plantation in 1984 as a colonial role player. And even though I'm the deputy director, I still occasionally role play. So 25 years later, I'm now my own father-in-law. Because in 1984, I played Robert Bartlett, who married Mary Warren. In 2013, I'm playing Richard Warren, that character's father-in-law. So you grow up at the museum in many ways.
Richard, tell me about the experience when someone comes to the plantation.
We have 4 major sites. Mayflower II, which is a full-scale reproduction of the ship that brought the Pilgrims in 1620. We also have the Wampanoag home site, which is a recreation of the place where Wampanoag men and women lived near the Pilgrims, because Massasoit, the great sachem, sent Hobbamock and his family to live near the English, to interpret for them, but also to be an ambassador to them. We have the 17th century English village, which is a full-scale reproduction of what Plymouth looked like 7 years after Mayflower landed. It's the last year everyone lives in the little walled town. What sets that site apart is that once you walk into the walled community, it is that day in 1627. So if you visit April 5th, 2014, it's going to be April 5th, 1627 for all the people the guests are encountering, and we play out the entire year. The funerals, the court sessions, the scandals, the weddings.
Scandals?
Oh yeah, there's a huge scandal. In November 1626, there is a shipwreck off what would become the town of Chatham on Cape Cod.
Mm-hmm.
All of those people cannot get to Virginia. They say to the people at Plymouth, can we live with you until we get a boat? What happens very quickly is it's suspected that one of the gentlemen is keeping his housekeeper as his mistress.
Oh, wow.
They're called to court twice. No, we're pure as the driven snow. Before they're called to court the 3rd time, she's started to show. Oh. And they steal a boat and get out of here.
When they first came, when they landed here, and they set up the settlement, how many people were here? And I imagine it must have been pretty difficult to do what they were doing.
I've been at the museum 25 years, and I still can't really imagine how horrific the first winter must have been. That they arrived off of Cape Cod in November 1620, 102 people, and by February of 1621, half of them were dead. And William Bradford says there were days 2 and 3 people were dying, and that at their very worst, only 5 to 7 men were well enough to take care of everyone else and bury the dead.
How about Thanksgiving dinner? I saw some video of a reenactment. Do you do that here?
At our visitor center, we will serve hundreds, maybe even close to 1,700 Thanksgiving dinners in the day. We do 4 beautiful dinners that are the same dinner served at Harvard University after President Lincoln declared the first national holiday. People can book those, and they get sold out months in advance because it's such a memorable dinner.
When you became the deputy director, I was told that you've done a lot of interviews. In fact, you had the History Channel here, you've got networks, you've got people from Japan, you're being interviewed by people all over the world. What do you think you can attribute that interest to people from outside of the United States?
I have an amazing story. We got a phone call from a Chilean American who has come to this country 17 years ago, and his ESL program was not going to be funded. And he decided, I'm going to call the Chilean miners, all of those men that were trapped for almost 2 months. Would they come to Massachusetts and help us raise money for the ESL program?
What's the ESL program?
English as a second language.
Oh, okay.
Miner number one, the young man who was sent out first to make sure that the elevator would work, that the other men could follow him out of the earth, he came. And then the oldest of the miners, who had been through 33 collapses, he came. And Angel had a miner on each arm, and he was crying. And I said, Angel, why does this mean so much to you? And he said, Richard, you don't have to have someone who came on the Mayflower for this to be meaningful to you. This is my story. Plymouth Plantation is the spirit of the United States. I can see myself here. And I think that's why people visit us, particularly American visitors. Unless we're indigenous, we all have that original American.
How do people learn more about Plymouth Plantation?
We've got a great website, plimoth.org.
Not why.
Not why. The founders of the museum took the antique spelling of the town, Plimoth. They can follow us on Twitter. They can become Facebook friends, because there's so much going on here. For anyone in your audience that teaches, our website is the perfect tool for teaching Thanksgiving.
This has been a fascinating interview. Thank you for this. Thank
My
you very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you, Kevin.
If you could leave our audience with one thing, what would you leave them with?
I think to live a life conscious of those that have gone before us, and that we stand on the shoulders of giants, that the men and women who came here, the native people who helped them to survive and who greeted them and who have survived. Often there are impressions that the native people disappeared, and they haven't. They've persisted and they live all around us. It's important to remember those that went before us and to be thankful for what they did.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Kevin.
We're going to be right back right after this message.